Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to TRS Live with your hosts Brian Keller, Matt Trotz, and Zach Hoffman, presented by The Real Shot.
I'ma do this here forever.
EQ.
Forever.
Triune.
Forever.
Yeah.
Forever. I'ma do this here forever.
Let's go.
All you haters better get comfy. This the day you've been waiting on. Y'all road is finna get bumpy. This the track I'm making my statement on. I ain't going nowhere. This the place that I'm making home. I'll do this shit forever. Hit the gas and I'm taking off. Ow. I was born with passion. My job is never ending and my hustle's everlasting. No matter what, I'm gon' ball, even with my back to the wall. And the best part is that this is the beginning. I'ma do this here forever. Forever.
This. Take two.
Do I get to roast Justin again?
Yeah.
Take two.
Take two. The
All
roast
right,
of
we got this fixed.
the roast of the month.
Sweet.
Are we on?
We're on this time. It's working now. Very nice. All right, so
Well, let's get right into it. So we're talking spring walleye. Mostly.
I like that.
That's
That is actually pretty nice.
Is that a googly eye?
It's a googly eye. We'll talk about that
All right.
when we get into the jig section.
Okay.
So.
Spring walleye fishing.
Spring walleye fishing.
Primarily river tactics.
Yes.
It's going to be what we're talking about.
Yep.
Right? Primarily
Fox
river
River
tactics.
and the Wolf
Correct.
River.
Well, just
system.
rivers in general.
Rivers in general.
Rivers in general.
Yeah.
Rivers and seas. So we got the Mundts on here. This is Justin and Jessica, and they are a TRS employees, pro staffers, whatever you want to call it, yeah. And they're going to talk to you, everybody, about how to catch fishes.
Wow.
Bing, bang, boom.
That's going to be tough to follow.
Yeah, no joke. I don't know.
Some
Man,
of
that
the fishes we
This-
target.
Introduction is just
You
incredible.
guys want me to
So
go over
again,
minnow spawning hat?
We're
Yes.
on the new schedule, so this is where you're going to be able to find us all the time at TRS Outdoors.
Yep. TRSOutdoors.com.
.com, and it's Tuesday, Thursdays
Yep.
here at the nooner hour.
And we do have chat now.
Yeah.
We have chat now. You can log in with either Facebook or Twitter or just set up a guest account, and you can chat with us live. So
And
that'd
I
be
would
awesome.
encourage lots of questions.
Yeah,
Yes.
Bring on, bring them on.
Bring
Any
'em.
questions? Coordinates? No. Questions are welcomed.
We'll
yes.
give you coordinates.
They might not be the right ones,
Yeah.
but I'll give them to you.
West 12.
Why?
So,
So
all
yeah.
sorts of technical stuff going on today.
New schedule.
It's all flabbergasted.
So get into it.
So what's our history? You
I have-
before I met you.
Yeah, before you met me,
Yeah.
I've been obviously fishing since I've been able to walk. Actually, walleye is generally kind of what I started on. My dad would take me out of school for, good week during April, and he'd usually go and we get up every single day from, sun up to sundown. And so I'm pretty familiar with all the bodies of water that in the river systems. From the Wolf is kind of where I grew up on mostly, but obviously too when I met Justin, we kind of more, expanded our regions and started hitting up more GB, getting more familiar with that, and we've learned a lot along the way. I mean, obviously walleyes are walleyes; they tend to eat the same things, but there's different tactics and presentations that can be better on different bodies of water.
Yeah. No, you kind of grew up with your pops fishing the Wolf pretty specifically.
That was kind of that was the
Jigging
river rat
minnow was
back
a
in the day.
program.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yep, and I grew up in Menominee, so I grew up cranking walleyes. That's all I did before you could get a spot on the shoreline. Now you can't.
Now you gotta throw elbows.
It's really bad up there now.
It's getting there, yeah.
Yeah.
And the fishery on the Fox is a way better fishery, and there's
Mm-hmm.
more places to fish. So it's, I don't know, it's interesting. It's just our history is I'm a shoreline cranker, and she was a boat jigger, and we kind of
Yep.
put it together and started fishing a lot of different fisheries. We like to get out, explore. And
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who fishes as hard as you two.
We hit it
If
pretty
there's
hard.
if
yeah.
there is an open day, you guys hit it hard.
yep,
For sure.
yep. We don't.
No,
do
don't mess
anything
around.
else.
No, we usually burn the. No, we really don't.
No, as long as I've known you guys, that's
Yeah.
it. Like
Yeah.
it's hardcore.
Other than archery season, we take some
Yeah.
time off from fishing. But
But even
yeah.
then, you got your browns and stuff like that too, and your salmon that runs. So we try to touch on everything. But no, we hit it pretty hard. Usually this time of year, we're burning the midnight oil quite a bit, and
Although that has slowed down. Justin's getting old.
This is true, though.
You
My
know,
body can't take it as much
Nine
anymore.
years ago, it was every night.
No, every
Justin
night.
was on the river every night.
No, and I'm not kidding. Like, we would freaking get up, and we'd be out in the boat as soon as we get out, 3:30, 4 o'clock, and we'd be out till like 2 o'clock in the morning, turned around 2 hours later, and looking at each other like, we got this. Now it's like, oh my God. Like, 10 o'clock rolls around, it's like, I'm
you
done.
pull into the parking lot in De Pere at 10
Yes,
p.m.
this is true,
10
too.
p.m. and you have to walk like a quarter
That's
mile.
true, too.
back
It was
to-
never that bad. That's gotten really bad in the
No.
last few years.
It is incredible, and a lot of things have changed too, and we can go into that. Obviously, with the Fox, they did a bunch of dredging up there, which has kind of changed the, your seams, your normal spots that we were hitting up have changed drastically. Your gravel bars, there's a lot of gravel bars that are gone now that were lovely.
Yeah,
So you kind of have to change your ways.
Yeah, I mean, it is a unique fishery. It is a very popular fishery.
Mhm.
We still enjoy fishing it. I can't tell you why, other than we
It's
like
correct.
catching fish.
I mean, I'm not kidding though. I think every time we pull up, we're like a little pissy.
Well, it's
Not gonna lie.
if you've ever ice fished Poigan and you open your truck door
Correct,
and hit
yes,
somebody
this
else's
is how
truck
that
door,
goes.
it's a pretty good depiction of what De Pere looks like in
Correct.
the spring.
Yep.
I get the draw. I mean, I'm sure you guys have all fished it. Matt, you ever been on that old De Pere?
A couple times, yep.
No.
A couple times.
So you know what we're talking about.
How many days a year do you guys fish, you think?
I mean, I don't even know, every weekend we're out pretty much. But
I've
obviously
never
as much
actually
as we
sat
can.
down and
Yeah, I guess we can.
All these real world jobs you have,
Yeah,
Yeah, I
no,
know.
damn.
jobs
No.
and bills. And
Dogs
in the
and
way,
all
yes.
the other stuff.
no kids, which is why we're able to fish
This
as
is
much as we
correct,
do.
too.
But
Yeah.
True story. True story.
Yeah, no.
Kids definitely slow that down.
so yeah, I suppose we could dive into some extremely popular techniques other than
Yeah.
the jig and minnow, which Jess kind of discussed earlier, which is, I mean,
Start there.
number one technique, drifting the river channel, catching walleyes, jig and minnow.
So the water's a little colder right now, right? Your tactic's going to vary now from what it is maybe 2 weeks from from here.
Honestly, I think you probably let the fish dictate that. I mean, cold water, honestly, you're ripping. I mean, you talk about, one of my favorite baits. I mean, you're literally ripping baits. And it's crazy. You talk about 39-degree water temp, and that's what they want. And they're going to eat it. But there's days that you get out there, and they just want it literally dragged super, super slow.
Brian, you described the walleye's appetite at one point on one of these shows. They do what?
They eat anything.
Pretty much.
All the time.
Yeah.
It's true.
They are always eating something.
Mm-hmm.
They do. I mean, I think fish as a whole. I mean, I've fished tournaments a really long time. I was just having this conversation with my son the other day. We were watching MLF this weekend, and I said, the fish are always biting. I've never been in a tournament where everybody's zeroed.
Yep.
Even if you like the worst day you're having, somebody else is cracking them.
Correct.
And I think that's the same if it's the walleyes in the river, if it's on the lakes, whatever. Somebody's always figuring it out. And I think what Jess was talking about is adapting to the conditions that day is what really makes the difference.
For sure. Yep.
So you're going out right now. Your main tactics, you're going to, like you said, you're going to rip it.
Correct.
And then if the fish aren't hitting, you're going to...
That's where I start at. And usually he's kind of more, honestly, I think he's more of that plastics guy. I think that's usually what you usually throw on most of the time.
I have a serious addiction to Berkeley Power
This is
Bait
true,
ripple
yes.
shads.
This guy right here.
I think everybody who knows me knows that is my favorite. It's my go-to. And I would say in the last 10 years, that is the number one walleye producing bait for me. It helps that I throw it a lot,
Right.
but it catches
I think
small fish, big fish.
The other interesting thing with the ripple shed that you don't get out of some other plastics is that side-to-side wobble.
Yep.
Like if you throw a Kitech, you throw some other softer plastics, they're pretty much a straight retrieve. Based on the width, you might get a different fall rate, those types of things. But with the ripple shad, you get that side-to-side wobble along with the tail vibration, and that could be a part of why it works for you.
Yep, I think it's kind of like a plastic blade bait. So, like you said, the Kitech's a real soft plastic. You get great tail action, but you don't feel that vibration. So
Correct.
you get the movement, which isn't always super helpful in the Fox because the water's a little stained. So it's kind of in between the soft paddle and like a rip and wrap, where it's real loud vibration, real loud rattles.
But it's something
But
they
subtle.
can feel and find
Something
it.
they can feel and find it. Yep.
Yep.
It's not as aggressive as a rip and wrap, so it's kind of an in between. So it's really good, just kind of a good start.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can
Just
rip
to
it
see if
too,
I
or-
can find the fish's
Correct.
Oh, and you can steady retrieve it, you
Oh,
can
100%,
drag it,
yeah,
you
there's
can
so many
pop
options.
it, you can do whatever you want with it. So
I
it's
can't
very
even tell you,
versatile.
honestly, and he beats my butt on the freaking Fox every single year with these things, and I hate him. I cannot put him on.
But you have.
Why,
But I
why,
have 'em.
You own
why
them.
can't you fish?
I don't
Say,
know.
if
I
he's,
just
if he's
can't.
catching more fish than you,
I know,
would
but
you
you have to understand. I'm like the most stubborn. We were talking about this last night. I'm like the most stubborn. He can literally have like 15 to 1, and I am just not going to put this on.
You know, I've never heard that about you.
Yeah, I know. I bet not.
I've known Justin for. I've never heard that.
No, I bet.
And I'll switch like in a second. No,
He's like, you
this
got
ain't
me those?
happening.
Can I
Yeah.
borrow your box?
Right.
She just can't let him be right. That's all it is to
Yeah,
it. That's
that's
a
really what it
typical.
boils down
That's
to.
just normal.
Yeah, that's a whole nother case.
Yeah, no,
podcast.
that's
a,
fishing with your spouse. Yes,
yeah, no.
that's nice.
That would be an interesting one.
Oh, yeah.
That would be
I
interesting.
mean, they're here right now. We might as well just go with it.
It's no different than any other fishing team on the water, right? You're both catching fish. You're having great days. Everybody's happy. Okay,
Right.
but when you're not catching fish, it's like, well, Jess, you're using the
I love
trolling
how
motor
serious
too
you are
fast.
right now.
Hey, slow down. Hey,
Yeah.
Hey, go over there. She's like,
Correct.
fine. Take us where we need to be. Fine, we'll go there. We're not catching fish again. Like, what the hell?
There's usually one person pouting in the boat at any
like-
given moment.
Yeah, it's no different than any other team on the water, except if we argue on the boat, we have to
Yeah,
go home
at the
together.
Yes.
I was gonna say that's
Yeah.
definitely a little different.
It is
At the
different.
boat launch, you don't part ways.
Yeah.
You both end up at the same
And then
spot
it's a very
again.
silent road home.
Oh, you're getting in that same
Yeah.
spot?
Son of a- Usually I have the
That's
keys,
awesome.
and I'll just leave you there.
Yeah.
Has
So-
that ever happened? Have you ever drove off?
No,
No.
Well, that's good.
no,
That'd be an issue.
yeah.
Has one of you ever made the other one go to pull the boat to shore and be like, okay, I'm gonna get out?
I don't.
I-
Just to pee, maybe.
Me-
But not, and then you don't
They had
just
to think
slowly,
about it.
You
They had to
slowly
think
don't just
about
turn
it.
away and go be like, I can't. The current took me back
Yeah.
out.
Oh, I won't say stuff doesn't get heated. Once
Oh,
in a
for
while.
sure.
Oh, there's
there
no
ain't
way. I could
question.
never fish with my wife. No way.
No, I mean we.
Zero chance
I
I'd
can't
pull
even
it
tell
off.
you. I mean,
That
even.
makes it special.
Oh, for sure.
Oh,
yeah.
it
And-
builds the stronger bond.
Yeah, no, it's a challenge for sure. I think it's something that we've gotten better at over the years, honestly. I mean, we've been together for what, 15 years ish.
Yeah.
So I mean,
You got
it's
the
something
stats
that,
on all that.
yeah, yeah. But I think it's certainly something we've learned. Obviously, Justin. So we've learned Justin drives the boat is the trade-off, and I get to head the boat on the
Yeah.
trolling motor.
So she gets.
So
to
I
use,
get-
so she gets to use the boat when it counts.
Correct, but that's
I
not
see how
always
this
the
goes.
case.
Man, when you put it like
So-
that, kind of irritating.
No. Oh, do you want to switch? We talked
No,
about it.
no, no. I was talking about
All
Brian's
right.
comment. That's the irritating part.
Yes.
You can stand up front. The view's way better than back anyway.
There you go. Now we got it.
Oh.
There it is.
That was
There it
sweet.
is.
Truth comes out.
nice. It's just like getting flowers, right?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it really
right.
is.
There you
Yeah.
go. Nice.
I give you walleyes.
Yeah, that's nice. Oh,
Sometimes.
oh.
I meant the compliment. By
Yeah,
the way. I was
right.
talking about the
I
compliment,
give
Justin.
you walleyes.
Very
Actually,
nice.
I'm bringing
Speaking
you
of-
to the walleyes because I'm on the trolling motor and you're in the back.
So and this is how that starts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
It's usually the case.
I expected between
There's-
Brian and Matt this would be brought out. I'm surprised it took this long.
It really,
You know,
yeah, no.
I'm being good.
We're not worried.
No,
about it.
no.
We're out there to fish, have fun, just like everybody else. So,
Yeah,
you know,
just-
there are days you crank them, there are days you don't.
Oh yeah.
Days
Yeah.
you struggle, days you don't.
We just don't hold
Absolutely.
back on one of those, what tends to be the problem. Just want the best out of you, you know?
There it is.
Why is this me now? All right. Anyway.
Anyway,
Again, we welcome questions. Changes,
Yeah, hey, for
changes
sure.
the subject if anybody wants to ask things.
I just want to see a reality show of you guys on the water. I would watch that. That would be comical.
No.
oh, it's entertaining.
Right? Launching
the
the
least.
boat, getting in
Oh,
the
yeah.
boat. That would be fun.
It would be.
I would enjoy watching that.
You have
I
fun-
mean,
you
you know,
would have
not
fun
for-
just standing at De Beers boat launch and watching others.
Yeah.
Way to
Yeah,
change the
I know.
subject.
That would be a good.
But that's true.
That would be
Well, no,
fun to
it's
just
all
go watch people
seriousness.
try to back their boats in.
It's a thing that takes practice. Obviously, you do it a lot. You get good at
Right.
it. You're efficient. You have a good partner that's efficient.
Correct.
I dump the trailer and she drives it
That's
on.
the beauty of
hooks
what
it
we
up.
do.
Yeah. So.
Teamwork makes the dream
Yeah, we're really
work.
in and out like that and
Yeah.
watching
Those
everybody
that
else.
play together stay together.
Aw, there it is.
Aw, man.
Wow.
Back. All right.
What else?
Anyway.
People are tuned in to teach, so you guys can teach them how to catch.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we're teaching people, but we're going to show you a lot of the stuff that we use. And like we stated earlier, I mean, that's all we do. We work all week, and then
Right.
every weekend it's fish. It's not when or it's where, what.
Correct.
That's all we do is fish. I mean, it's never a question of let's go to the mall and buy some shoes.
Right.
I got to come home and be like, what musky lures did you order today, Jess? Because it's not boxes of shoes. It's $100 worth of musky shit just piled up all over.
You love it.
I don't mind if I could borrow more of it, but that's a whole musky deal.
So how long are you guys going to give De Pere yet before you pull off and start to the wolf?
Oh, usually probably 2-3 weeks at least.
Yeah, I mean the pre-spawn, when the fish move up in stage, it's fun. To me, the most fun is the post-spawn when
Correct.
the fish
They-
move onto the shallow flats, start feeding aggressively. You don't get those big heavy females full of spawn, but you're still catching big fish and you're catching a lot of fish, and they feed aggressively. So just the strikes it's more exciting to me. Same thing on the wolf, that vertical jigging on the way up. Usually and that's probably why we don't vertical jig anymore. It usually just dominates the vertical
Which I love
jigging
that,
category,
yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then on the way down, I bring out the ripple shads and
Own me.
write the rest of the story. But
So let's talk about real quick why that is. So when they're moving into spawn, they got one thing on their mind.
Yep.
That's getting the deed done, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Spawning, doing their thing. I mean, they're obviously eating. They have to survive, but it's a lot less aggressive, right?
Yep.
Post spawn. So walleye spawn at what? 42,
42, 43. Yep.
43 degrees. So once that's done, those big females put on the bag.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
hungry.
Yep.
What
It's
has been
go time.
consistent water temps right now?
39 to 41.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's getting real dang close.
It's close, yeah. And I think and Brian probably knows plenty of this walleye spawning habitat. He's been a walleye guy for his entire
Well,
life.
let's pretend we're not talking just to Brian. I mean, there's other people that maybe don't know.
Let's pretend we're talking to Matt.
Yeah, there you
Because
go.
Matt doesn't know.
Yeah, I mean, to sum it up, so they're gonna head. I mean, we know on the Wolf River they're heading towards marshes, right?
Yep, they spawn in the marshes on the Wolf. The pier, obviously, they cram up at the dam. That fast water and current.
And they're all different though too. I mean, you get fish that literally run all the way up to Shawano Dam. I mean, it just depends upon what they've done year after year, and some will stop on the way up in the marshes, and
It's pretty amazing the distance that
Yeah.
those fish can travel to spawn. I mean, your dad caught that.
yeah, if you
one
ever
at
give them the
Shawano-
tag, yeah.
Yeah, it was Shawano Dam. It was tagged, and he caught it on the north end of the lake.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
So I don't
Miles.
know what that is by water, but
Wow,
it's a haul.
That's a long
Oh,
ways.
absolutely. All right, so let's talk. So we talked a little bit about just fishing the conditions, right?
Yep.
I think the thing with the walleyes, it doesn't go through a seasonal pattern, right? It's kind of a day-to-day thing, right? Obviously, the snap jigging, the rip and wraps, the blade baits, those things are extremely popular. I think a lot of that has to do with the number of people fishing to pier.
Yep.
I mean, with having 300-400 boats and all there's 300-400, 600 lines in the water. Everybody's got a jig in the minnow. The vibration, the rattles, it just gives those fish something to key in on,
Absolutely.
right? That lets them pick you over somebody else, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff in those fish's face. Why should I eat that bait or this bait or whatever? So color-wise, what do you guys kind of see as a color pattern? Do you see changes throughout the day? Do you see changes as the water temperature changes? Do you see big color changes post-spawn versus pre-spawn? What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, obviously, color changes with the day-to-day conditions, sunlight versus cloudy. I mean, there's going to be some differences there. Man, the Fox is pretty stained system.
Bright,
generally
bright,
speaking.
yeah.
So bright. I mean, bright greens, chartreuse, flows.
But not going to say again, if you're not getting them on bright, switch it up though too.
Oh, and that's kind of like what Brian was saying. The fish get so used to
Correct.
seeing bright,
and that's just
bright.
it.
Oh, there's gold. Guess that's natural. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Switching colors. So having a variety of colors in addition to a variety of options lures is always a benefit.
Well, in particular with the pier, that water color clarity can change in a day.
Correct. Yep.
In and out.
It all in an hour. It
An
all
hour,
depends
yeah.
on what's coming down or
Yep.
what's coming through the dam, depending on if they're all how many locks do they have open, all those types of things. That water turbulence, I guess, can change really fast.
Mm-hmm.
What's the main forage base at this time of year on the Fox?
I don't even know if they care what's in the Fox. I think a lot of those bay fish are accustomed now to eating gobies, so I think
I would
that is
agree.
where that the blades in the last few years, the rip and wraps, 'cause a lot of the bites are coming not even on the fall as much as they used to. Is that when you go to pick up, I think those walleyes become
yeah.
accustomed to pinning those gobies down and
It's just
feeding
there.
so specifically on the bottom that a lot of your strikes are coming as you lift that bait back
Okay.
up.
Which would make sense because the goby only comes 16, 18 inches off the bottom.
Yeah, they can't really
So-
swim. They can hover and fall.
Right. Yep. No,
Up
absolutely.
and then back down. So
And we've talked about that before on how the goby, we've talked about Lake Winnebago, and obviously the gobies are making their way in. People can deny it all they want, but they are, right?
They're coming.
And fish love them. They're like candy, popcorn to a fish, and it just changes their habits a little bit.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But typically this time of year, they don't suspend on the way up to spawn. Right?
No,
so
usually you're tight to the bottom.
walleyes
They're low.
are pretty tight to the bottom on their way in. Now on the way out, that dramatically changes.
They just float, right?
Yep.
Move with
The big
current.
females will move in shallow. When they want to feed, they move in shallow. When they want to get out of the river, they move more into the current channel itself, suspend way high, and just float.
Yeah, and it's so clear on, obviously that's where you're catching fish. I mean, you're jigging the channel, you're fishing the channel edges on the way up, and then on the way down, you can slide back into shallow bays,
They
cut.
just spread out. I mean,
Yeah.
just put the feed bags on, find the bait fish or whatever they're just putting the feed bags on.
And that's why I love the post spawn.
Yeah,
better.
post spawn's definitely more fun,
It's
for
so
sure.
much more fun.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about how to fish these different baits, right? So we talked a little bit about jig and minnow. So we got a jig and a paddle, some kind of a twister tail there tied up. Why don't we talk about that real quick?
Yeah, so I mean, we stock the FinTech knuckleball jigs. I'm gonna get these in the camera here so you guys can see them, and then I'm going to tip the camera down. You guys can see this is it's a stand-up head. Okay, it's going.
There it is.
Yep. So the jig stands up; it rights itself. This is probably one of our more popular jigs based on that stand-up feature because a traditional jig may lay on its side where it's hard for walleye to pick it up. It's standing up, the bait's in their face, the plastic's in their face. They can just pick up that little.
And those
snack.
knuckleballs do a pretty good job of cutting current as well.
They do. Yep. And and it seems like you do get less snags, and I don't know for sure
I would
why,
agree.
but
Well, I think that's because of that. The stand-up is why you get less snags. When it's on bottom, it's
Sure,
not
it's-
line flat on bottom.
Right.
Yeah.
Laying
I
on
think
its side.
it's always
like
got
this,
the hook up.
obviously,
yeah.
Right, exactly. Now the FinTech also makes the Zone R. So if you're fishing, do they still make the Zone
They
R?
do. Yep.
So if they make the Zone R, which is more of a streamlined head. So if you're fishing in real strong current, that just allows that to cut the current a little easier.
Which is something a lot of people fishing the Wolf should look at right now because that river
Agreed.
obviously is at flood stage.
It's really
and-
high.
And the reason that's so important is less snags. The more vertical you can be when jigging,
Yep.
the less snags you have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the key. When you get off of vertical and that line, you either get too much line out in front of the boat or behind the boat. That's when you end up getting snagged because you can't feel it as well.
And that is an art too. I think a
Oh,
lot of people.
absolutely.
It'd be your guy. Like for me, obviously that's what I did growing up on the Wolf was vertical jigging. And if you are not, literally, I will throw you off the trolling motor if I cannot stay vertical. Like
Right.
I just can't
Because if
stand
you're
it. You're
not
not
vertical,
getting fish.
you're not
Now,
getting it.
how are
Feel
you?
and everything.
Yeah,
as well,
100%.
How are you taught to vertical jig? That's an interesting topic. How are you taught to do that? Because
Honestly-
I've got a technique that I was taught how to use.
I mean, basically, if I could tell somebody out new, if heavy, start heavy first and foremost. Obviously,
Absolutely.
that's going to get you hitting the bottom. Keeping that contact's key, and then kind of slowly move up from there.
Okay.
That's probably the best way I can probably say it for somebody new.
Here's an interesting. I learned with a slip bobber
Okay.
because the slip bobber and the
It'll go
weight.
flat.
Well, the slip bobber forces the bait to stay straight, and the
Okay.
bobber will always drift with that.
Sure.
But then, in order to learn the boat control aspect of it,
Yeah.
you just chase your bobber around.
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
how I learned how to do
And that's
it.
really about it too. I mean,
is.
you're really chasing your line around to make sure you're staying vertical.
And
I mean,
once you get good at it, it's obviously easier. But
100%.
you can see guys who just spin
Oh,
in
yes.
circles
Right.
trying
Oh,
to figure out how to
yes.
slip with the current.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to match, so your jig's coming down current at whatever the current speed
Yep.
is. You've got to
Right.
match your boat speed with it, and then you stay vertical, right?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the slip bobber technique was something I've been doing with my
That's
kid
pretty
to
sweet.
try to figure out, try to get him to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
That's actually awesome.
Yeah, it is.
I've never heard that
No,
before.
that's pretty neat.
So we actually got a comment on here. Walleye Lover 12 wants to know: are flies typically a post spawn technique?
Oh boy.
I would say yeah.
Yeah, I think guys fish flies all year.
They do right
it's
away.
It's just a good technique. Both
Keeps it in the.
It's like
strike
jig
range,
fishing.
you know?
It's like saying jig fishing is not as good post spawn.
True.
There's still fish, in the channel. They don't all move off to the shelves and eat. So flies is something we don't fish a lot. I mean, I completely understand how to fish it and the concept of it. We sell a lot of flies for the walleye and the white
Yep.
bass fishermen.
Yep.
Interesting question. I would say yeah, probably both.
They're a little more, fly fishing's a little more of an aggressive bite because you're snapping
Correct.
it
Yep.
to get the fly. So if you're not familiar with pulling flies, it's basically a three-way rig, right? Three-way rig with either a single or a double fly tied on. In order to get the fly to look like something, you're trying to get it to look like a minnow, right? So when you snap it, you got to pull it forward in the water and kind of pause it. On the pause, the fly will actually fan out
Yep.
and then go back, and that's what kind of creates that flash in the water really not any vibration to it, but that's kind of the trick to pulling
yeah.
flies. So I would think if I had to pick one to answer his question, I personally would go with the post spawn. They're more aggressive.
Plus,
They're
they're
definitely
higher
on
in the
the
water
feed.
column, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, you can change that depth of that dropper too. You can go 12 inches, 6 inches, 3 feet. You can kind of play around with that. And flies is also a great thing for kids because
Right.
with using a heavier weight, you're always on contact. You're not trying to chase the jig around. You don't have to be vertical. You know, now you're dealing with more of a 45-degree angle down to the weight.
So I'm guessing a lot of the bites that come off a fly are usually on the back
Absolutely.
pass, probably
Usually,
100%.
When I've done
or
it in the
high.
past, you'll snap it, you'll let it go back, and when you come back, that's where they're there.
Yeah.
The weight's
Okay.
there.
Yep.
And
So
I
they
that's
definitely hit it on the
That's
back.
a lot of times when I fish any plastic. Obviously, I fish the ripple shad a lot. We've covered that earlier, but it's a short 1 foot lift, and then 99% of the time, it's on the fall, and that's
Yeah.
when they eat it 6 inches from the bottom.
So
Sorry.
Speaking to the mic.
No, it's just Justin's a little quieter than Jess. 'Cause
Yeah.
He's been beating his submission.
Oh
over the
my
years.
Well,
god.
you just
My spirit has been broken.
I'm just
you
kidding.
just talked about the ripple shad, and Jeff wants to know what size ripple shad are you using?
Depends upon the day.
Yeah,
I mean, it really is.
It's not a not a
Sorry,
wrong
Jeff,
answer.
that's not a very good.
Yeah.
answer.
What's your go-to? What's your go-to?
on the way up 3 inch,
So
on
what
the way
size do
down
you have right
3.5.
here?
That's a 3.5.
This is a
This is a
3.5.
3 inch.
And that's a 3-inch.
So you're using a little smaller on the way up, a little bigger on the way back.
Yep,
Kind of
yep.
fits that same thing about the aggressive nature.
Yep, kind of fits the aggressive nature of the fish and how actively they're feeding. So, a 3 inch is always my starting size for the year.
Yep.
Color wise is preference. I'm actually really strong on natural, the smelt color, but Jess, when she does fish them, she fished a lot of the fire tiger and chartreuses, and they do just as well. So I think it's more vibration to a point than it is the actual bait
I would
color.
agree.
And then obviously you want to be in the area where there's fish.
That always helps.
That always helps.
Yes. Now, you said the other thing, too, kind of depends on how aggressive they are.
Yep.
I think the less aggressive, you downsize.
Yep.
Would you find that same thing?
Absolutely.
Yep. So the more aggressive they are, you can get away with a bigger bait, cover more water. You can usually fish a bigger bait faster than you can a smaller bait, so that allows you to target those aggressive fish. If they are less aggressive, you kind of want to downsize everything, slow it down. That's just kind of the...
And that goes with jig size too. I try to get away with absolutely the lightest
Right.
jig I can get away with, so that it slows that fall rate down and increases. I'll get into jigs a little bit later, but yeah, it gives them a little bit longer chance to grab that bait. So
It's probably a good opportunity to talk about now, though, honestly, because that's one thing that Justin actually started, and I think you have them on the table now, actually, are tungsten. You know, they've kind of started, you got...
So because we have a strong bass past, I always like to use a lot of bass tackle for fishing walleyes. And one of the best jigs I found is the Kitech Super Round Tungsten. My theory behind that...
You want to drop that right here?
Oh, yep.
I can hold it while you talk.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That's trying to be useful.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
That's such a great spot.
That's a good hold right
It
there.
actually
man.
is.
Solid,
That's
not
where
even
it's-
Very
shaky.
nice.
So my theory behind obviously tungsten is more dense, so it's going to be smaller size head compared to a lead equivalent in a quarter ounce, etc. I feel like the smaller head allows more water flow around my plastic. I feel like I get more vibration off that bait versus flow of a bigger piece of lead will push that water around the bait. I don't get as much action. So
Well, that's a great tip.
and tungsten has a different sound when it hits the rocks too. Obviously, it's more dense, so I think it's a little bit louder. They're not as cheap as a lead jig, but to me the
They
difference.
should be in your arsenal, I think. And there are days, I mean, like I said, you kicked my butt last year I couldn't even I tried every single jig, and again, how stubborn I am that I didn't want to switch. And he's like, just take one. I'm like, no. But I mean, it obviously made
I'll
such...
tie it on.
Yeah, right. But it made such a huge difference, and I do think it was probably either the quickness of the fall or
Or
like
the
sound. Of the
sound,
rock. Yep,
yeah, because we were
100%.
fishing a sandy, rocky.
So let's back that up a little bit. You talked a lot about the baits, but what about like your line selection, your rod selection? I mean, obviously, the bigger the bait, the stiffer the rod, so on and so forth for the most part. But like, okay, so you are dropping the Kitech here, the tungsten jig.
Yep.
What does that rod reel combo look like if you're throwing a rip and wrap?
Honestly, we don't really focus on that. I mean, a medium 7 foot's probably
I was going to
fast
say
action.
Justin's favorite, 6'6"
Yeah.
medium. Right?
Yeah. I mean, really, truthfully.
my favorite has changed for a lot of the spring snap jigging techniques. I like a 6'10" medium extra fast. 7 6.6 medium light will work, 6.6 medium. It all depends. You go from a number 5 rip and wrap to a 7.
You're not gonna rip one
Right,
of these
on
on
a
a
medium
medium
light.
light.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Right.
that's 7/8 of an ounce, I think, on these.
But
big
if you want
dogs.
probably, the most if you want one rod, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go catch some walleyes, that's probably a 6'10" medium, extra fast.
Yep, 6'10"
Use your
medium.
rod. You're gonna be able to probably rip any of these baits out and be able to fish them effectively.
Yep, and all your popular braids work. We
Yep.
run a lot of 10, 832, ran Power Pro.
I think really truthfully, one thing we've probably learned too is high vis. I mean, that doesn't really affect it. You're usually running a long leader for, fluorocarbon
leader.
loop.
Yep.
So bright is better. You're going to be able to indicate those strikes a lot easier.
Yeah, and that's something I didn't even think about.
Yeah.
When I'm dropping, and obviously I'm keeping a tight line on whether it's a rip and wrap, a ripple shad, or any bait I'm lifting or falling.
Yep.
In a tight line, I can feel the strike, but with a high vis line, I can also see the strike.
Which is beautiful when you're watching.
Yep. So you're looking for that little hop, and that's crappie fishermen, anybody that fishes based on feel. You
Correct.
should, if you can, use a high vis line that allows you.
Yeah,
allows
I mean,
you
I
to see a
can't
little bit
honestly.
more.
Yeah, I think that's one thing we've really changed over the years. It just helps indicate those strikes a lot easier.
Do you match the braid to the floral leader as well? So if it's like a 10-pound floral or a braid, are you using a 10-pound floral leader then?
No, whatever.
Do you downsize then, or do you
Usually
all
we
depends.
beef
downsize.
up? Because I mean, your line size is different, right?
It
I
is.
mean, the diameter is different on some of their higher end lines as well. So
We're
do you get-
usually fishing 8 to 10 probably.
Yeah.
Most cases.
We got a whole pile of leader wheels. We always keep them on. It's like most anglers keeps a nice assortment of 6, 8, 10, 12, 15.
Correct.
Braid's really strong, so you can get away with 10-pound braid for almost
I
any
swear
speed.
you can pull a boat around on 8-pound
Oh, yeah.
braid.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's stuff strong.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, you can. The thing with braid and rivers, this is one other little tidbit. My experience is you don't want to go real heavy. You're not flipping bass. You're not
Right.
trying to pull any other trees. You need to be able to break it.
Yes.
Because if
Yeah.
you're fishing,
Snagged
right?
up.
I'm serious.
Absolutely.
If you're fishing in a 2.5 or 3 mile an hour current, the worst thing is when you can't snap the braid.
Oh, yeah.
Like just don't grab the line, grab the spool, please,
Yep.
because you will cut your finger off.
That
Yes.
is a technique that is not spoke about enough. Grab the spool.
Grab the spool and keep your rod straight.
Point it right at the
Yes.
snag.
Yes.
Point the
yeah,
rod right at
so-
the snake, grab the spool, and just let that stuff break.
I
You're
mean,
not getting it out.
if you want to pull against it, we can sell you another rod.
For
We have
sure.
no problem with that. I mean, we have a great selection of rods, but
But if you're fishing 12-pound braid or 20-pound braid in
Mm-hmm.
a river situation, you're asking for problems.
Right.
Number one, it's thicker, so you're gonna have a harder time cutting through the current. Number two, if you do get snagged, and you will if you're doing it right. I mean, snags are a part of fishing.
Yep.
You can't break that stuff. I mean, you're talking, and
yep.
You cut your hand, you break your
Oh.
rod. I mean,
that stuff will melt your skin.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Oh, we've
While
ran.
it-
We'll even put it on spools. I've gone through
Oh, yeah.
like the first couple knuckles.
'Cause I always know when I'm fishing, I've got scars right here from
Oh, yeah.
tying knots. It cuts right through.
Well,
even
it
for-
melts it and cauterizes
Oh,
at the
yeah.
same time.
It really does.
Great
yeah.
system.
It's brutal.
So, Walleye Lover again has another hot debated question. He says, "Are custom painted lures like the Rip and Wraps worth the money, even during the spawning seasons?"
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a good question because we get that question quite a bit.
So I'm gonna just say that I'm like a freak with these things.
I was gonna
Justin
say you
knows
brought
my.
them all in. She didn't bring a single custom or
I
standard
know.
color.
Yeah,
No, I did.
mean,
I grabbed a couple.
There's a few.
Oh,
so
okay.
I mean, you.
This is my pile.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like a freak with these things. And honestly, again, what we're talking about is trying to be different. You got
Yep.
500 billion boats on the river. Everybody's going to have one of these things tied on. Be different. That's bottom line is what it is. And they come out with so many freaking kick-ass colors nowadays that you just want to change it up.
Well, and the best part about a custom is they're not all the same. So even though it's meant to be the same as this next one that it has the same title of it, there might be a little imperfection that's going to catch the fish, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are the hardcore fishermen, and that's where. So if you get a custom lure and it doesn't look the same as the one right next to it, don't think that's a flaw. I think that could be a bonus because this one may slow down. You tie the one right next to it, and it might just.
Well, I just think
produce.
people need to understand they're not factory made. They're
Right.
painted
Right.
literally one at a time by
And
a
I
guy.
guess that's more of like
Yeah.
I'm just informing people because we get that question a lot. We get it sent to the store. It's like, well, this custom doesn't look like the last custom I got.
Right,
well,
absolutely.
don't get mad about that. That's a good thing. I mean, we
Could
all
be a good thing.
It could be a good thing in a way. I mean, how many times have you usually when you're buying lures you buy two, right? For the most part, because you're probably going to lose that one or something like that's going to happen. Well, the custom world is a little bit different game.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much spot on. It's like you can only get X colors made from the factory, and as anglers and walleye anglers, we want more. We want something different. We want something that
variety is key.
I mean,
especially in a river situation where you're competing against
100%.
300 other boats.
Absolutely.
Right.
Those fish are seeing a lot of baits coming in their face.
Yep.
So I think that's the biggest difference. And
yeah, their brains are small, but after
Oh,
they've
yeah.
seen 500 UV greens
Yeah, I
floating past
know.
their face, they're like, maybe
get
I
it
don't.
together, Matt. Get it
What,
together.
what did I miss? No, just get it out. Come on.
No, we're not going there.
Okay.
I know what he's laughing at. We're not going there.
I'm surprised I missed it. I usually
I'm
don't.
surprised you missed it too.
Did you do something?
No, I did.
It was
Did
totally
you say
me.
something?
No, I said so. It was totally me.
Oh,
All right,
God.
moving
It
on.
wasn't intended like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't intended like that at all.
Hey, if you're gonna laugh that hard, you should be safe. You're gonna have an
We'll
aneurysm.
replay that one later on. I think there's people that probably picked up on it as well.
I'm totally sad I missed this right now.
I'm surprised Justin missed it, to be honest.
You know, while I'm trying
Zach
to.
didn't miss it. The two most immature people in the room figured
Didn't
it
miss
out.
it.
Well, how did we
Just,
so
just
we're-
let's just be the adults here.
I guess
just
so.
let these guys
Yeah,
do the thing.
For sure.
Let's focus on walleye
Walleyes,
techniques.
yes.
Walleyes.
catching
Oh,
All right.
my face is red.
Catch-
So,
the walleye.
so we're back to the jigs real quick.
Yes.
I think, and this kind of falls into play with the rip and wraps too. Fall rate is really huge
Big time.
because you're talking about throwing light jigs, and I think for people that are multi-species, and I've been learning this as I switch over to bass. I grew up 16th ounce jigs, 8th ounce jigs on everything because walleyes are real finicky, kind of, right?
Yep.
Like they don't just attack it and kill it like a bass does. A bass's goal in life is to kill stuff, where you can fish 3/4 ounce weights and get away with it, which is kind of why I like it. You can fish heavy braid, and it's
True.
just more of a combat sport. Walleyes are a lot more finicky. They like the slower fall, where a bass is triggered by the fast fall.
Yeah.
Right? A bass is triggered by that bait dropping really fast. That triggers that.
Yep.
Walleyes don't seem to operate like that all the time, right?
Correct.
Now, with your plastics, it doesn't seem to work as much, but now on, let's say, these blade baits, for instance, when are you picking up those fish on the fall, you think? You picking them up, are they hitting that when you're
Honestly,
you're lifting?
When you're
50-50?
lifting, I honestly think it's very similar to a rip and wrap. It just downsizes a little bit, gives
Okay.
a little bit different vibration to it. But honestly, you can disagree or agree. But it's usually when you're picking up, just as much as.
He just gave you permission to disagree.
I
If you notice, that happened.
I was letting that one slide through.
Because I know he usually will disagree more times than
okay,
not.
answer me this. Do you guys throw blade baits on the Wolf River?
Yeah. Last year,
So
actually,
now
we did very
That's
because
a
we
really
had-
hot tech.
Yeah.
That's really hot.
But so we talked
That's
about
really
on De Pere,
That's
the
really hot.
goby
It is.
and the
It's hot.
strike motion. You know, the fish are crushing them against the bottom. So now does it difference on the Wolf because there's a different forage, maybe not as so much gobies.
Yeah, I mean, it's as much forage as it is just finding the fish, putting it in their face, and going through, an assortment of baits to find out what they want. You can't get off of whatever you were on, which is
Wow.
just
I'm
bizarre.
really sad.
it
I
was
missed
good, and I didn't even intend it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
It'll come back.
I'm actually
It'll-
more afraid of
it'll
figuring out
come
what it
back
was.
up with this
Yeah,
conversation.
I want to know. I feel like it's.
Yeah, no,
We're
It's
all
not a
friends
bird.
here.
All right,
It's
all
not
right,
a hey.
all right.
It's not a roast of the Mundts at all.
No,
It's
that's
just
fine.
a
No, that's
Brian just
fine.
made a comment
no, we're good.
that if you're dirty-minded like me,
Oh.
you picked right up. On
Yeah,
it.
see, that's probably where I don't get it.
Oh.
Right.
What?
Anyway.
So yeah, no, we got a whole variety. Matt, I'm gonna let you hold
Yeah,
this
let
up.
me
I'm
hold
just gonna
these
go
for
through
you.
them real quick. We got some VMC Moon Eyes. Those are really good.
We got
And
it.
that's got a
Can you
real
get this other
similar
camera
head
up
style
there,
to the
Zach?
Zonar.
Absolutely. Yep.
It's a real similar skinny head design. I don't know if you can see that in the
Bam.
package or not.
Yep.
But if you can kind of turn that sideways, you see how
Yep.
that head's real kind of skinny like that? It allows that jig to cut through the current better.
Yep.
Yep.
And it's got a real nice keeper on there, too.
Yep. Nice keeper, a little longer shank to get
Yep.
in.
Now, quick tip on that is super glue. If you're
Mm-hmm.
these plastics aren't cheap anymore.
Right.
Plastics are very expensive. A little dab of super glue on the top of that jig, thread your plastic on there. That will double or triple the amount of fish you can catch on that plastic. It really will.
And that is a wonderful bass crossover
That's wh-
technique because that's really
absolutely.
where it comes from.
Mhm.
Yep.
And that's why I like to mix a little bit of the knowledge from both species. Because I mean, at the end of the day, they're fish. They want to eat.
Yep.
You find them, you put something in their face.
Well, you can throw without the super glue, that metal that's on there will eat through the plastic
Yep.
just by casting alone.
Yep.
You don't even have
Mm-hmm.
to catch a fish on it.
So,
We
which
might as
is
well just leave that up. We're
Yep,
gonna
which
just
is
have
why I
product
brought-
galore in here.
this other jig, and
I'll get it a little closer.
so that's a bass specific product, but it's a short shank, and now that's got the screw keeper on it. And that's going to do a little better job instead of this single piece of wire to give you more life out of each plastic.
And that's supposed to eliminate the need for super glue.
Absolutely.
That's
Yep.
why that was invented. On the bass side, everyone's super glue stuff because you're casting heavier stuff.
You know, fishing in weeds, or
Yep.
etc.
And we've got those in what sizes?
those are go from 16th all the way up to 3/8 in 1/0 and 2/0 hooks, and they're available in white, green pumpkin, and black.
And I don't think you're finding those anywhere else around here. Those are custom made for us.
Yep. Brian had those pours from his Bass Crew. Yeah, they're nice.
Oh, nice. So where are they on the floor? I mean, they're on the website, but where are these located on the floor? Are they with all the
On
rest of-
gondolas.
Yeah, they're
Well, I mean, are they out with all the rest of the jigs? The floor is changing a lot lately. I just don't know. Exactly.
no. These we keep in the archery department next to the, to the broadheads.
Oh.
No,
yeah.
we have 16 running feet of just bass specific heads,
Yep.
which you'll find in Kitech. You'll find the
So that's a
handboard
good point.
lines.
These are not with walleye.
These
stuff.
are not. Yes, I'm
All right,
sorry.
See, there
Yeah.
you go.
That's
See
what he was
how-
trying to
Shove your,
get.
shove
He was
your,
trying to be all
shove your
professional.
damn
I
words
know.
in your mouth. mean,
I get confused when you go from unprofessional to professional in such a short period of time.
Yeah, well, you get
I
confused.
get confused when he goes professional.
Oh.
I think it's that stocking hat. It's the keeping the heat in. He can't.
Yeah, man,
he
my head
can't,
is on fire. Plus, we sell these hats. It's a real shot.
Yeah,
we got
we
a bunch of different colors.
Oh man,
now,
we got
too.
tons of colors.
They're
So.
warm.
Awesome.
And it just snowed, so.
Yep.
So what do you got there?
These are the bee fishing. I'm just grabbing jigs.
Yep.
I didn't know what route you're going here.
Bee fishing has the line of heads, 16th up to 3/8.
And they got some cool paint
5/8.
jobs in there.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
they got
do.
some
Those have
awesome
actually
paint
come
jobs.
really popular over the last year. So
Yep. So they
Working
designed
it
them
out.
to fish with their Authentics line. We carry the Moxies, the
These are
Pulsars.
good too, yeah.
Yep, those are the Pulsars.
So obviously these are a little bit different. Again, the vibration's going to be completely different.
So it's a ribbon tail versus a paddle tail,
Yep.
right?
Bee fishing also has those glitter jigs, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, they do.
Don't
They do. Hutch's also has
Hutch's
glitter.
is the
They're
glitter
very
jig.
similar jig head. They're
Yeah.
Almost like a teardrop shape.
teardrop style. Both have the same keeper, different paint jobs. Price wise, they're almost the same.
I mean, it's just crazy the assortment of tackle, and you just grabbed a little basket of it.
Oh, this section, and and we fish a lot of walleye, but we like to switch multi-species
Yes.
constantly throughout the year. I get excited when I walk into this section. There's so much stuff to catch walleye.
Now, here's the other thing: is these jigs here. Okay, all the jigs you brought in, kind of. I was just going to talk a little bit about where the line tie is,
Okay.
and the difference between that on certain jigs. And all the jigs you brought in here have the line tie kind of facing up at a 90-degree angle.
Yep. Obviously, this is going to be when it's
Yep.
sitting. I don't know if
He's
you-
not
he's
on
not.
that
Okay.
one right now.
But the difference, like, talk to a
That's
little
just
bit
the
about
fin tag.
Justin, why the line tie, how that plays. If you don't know, I will.
I'll let you talk about that. I mean, I understand the difference of the way the bait moves through the water
Yep.
for vertical jigging. Obviously, 90 is
Right.
better because you're
Yes.
up and down versus pulling. But if you want to touch on a little bit more, because it's more viewed in the bass world,
Okay.
I think.
Yep. Well, here's why I think it's important. Switching back and forth is the 90-degree angle, like Justin said, allows that bait to stay horizontal in the water. And from a walleye standpoint, you're trying to mimic a minnow. They don't swim like this. They don't swim like that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Where a lot of the stuff like the stand-up jig heads that came from the bass world due to crayfish, and they always when they get attacked, the claws go up
They
in
go
the air.
up.
So that's kind of where that stand-up head came from, right? So the 90-degree allows that bait to stay nice and vertical. The other line tie is kind of at a 45 going forward, and those are really meant for your swim baits or your steady retrieve kind of a tactic. Not that you can't use this for both,
Right.
but if you're looking in the store and you're like, what's the difference between why is there a line tie at a 90, why is there a line tie at a 45?
Yep.
That's typically why.
Yep. And so that's a great segue into one of Jess's favorite
Yeah.
baits. These are our TRS custom painted blade baits.
So I don't think you can really find a whole lot of custom blade baits, honestly, around.
Don't think
I
Bring
mean,
it up
not
bring it up a little bit.
especially around the valley here. I mean, these are pretty cool. When he showed me these, I got really jacked because I'm a blade bait kind of gal. That's like one of my go-tos, and I mean, they got some really sexy colors. That
So back to the jig eye. So most blade baits have 3 holes. Again, same concept.
yep.
You vertical jigging it versus cast
Steady
snapping it.
retrieve, yep.
Yep. So that's the idea
Are you
behind
using
that.
snaps on these blades
100%
Have to,
of the
yep.
time.
all the time?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. If you tie
Because
direct-
otherwise you'll just cut right through
Yep.
yeah, you'll
You
be
can
in
do
here
it, but
a
it
lot.
ain't. It's not gonna help the performance either if you tie direct.
No, it's gonna
So-
hurt.
it. So
Make sure you're.
I love the comments. Walleye Lover again is just all over it. We appreciate it. He says, "Can you show how to rig a soft plastic on a jig for walleye? And do you ever hide the hook?" So you got this one kind of started right here. If you want, we can show them this one, or if you want to actually
Let's just go through. You got
rig
a
one
plastic
right up.
there.
Yeah.
Let's rig one here.
I mean, you guys are
Do you want to
probably
Put me on
do
the
your
spot.
ultimate?
No,
yeah, do the ripple shad.
I'm not a hand model. So another reason why I brought in that Kitech head and this bass head is because of the hook size. So again, another way that I use to increase the vibration of my bait is to decrease the hook size, because the more steel that I have through that bait, the less action that bait's going to have, because there's a piece of wire going through the middle of it. So when I fish the 3-inch ripple shad, I like a 1/0 hook, which again, Kitech's got a 1/0, they have a 2/0, and these are both available in 1 and 2/0.
It was just right here in the pile, wasn't it?
Yeah, let's see.
Oh, there it is, right here.
Dope. So yeah, generally I wouldn't rig this on there. Here, we'll rig this on there. It's pretty basic. You just
Talk real quick is about the measurement. How you know how far to slide the hook in before you pop it out, because it's really important to keep it straight.
Absolutely.
If possible, can you do it right in front
Well,
of
it's
us?
important to keep it straight
Just
this
angle it down a
way.
little bit.
It's also important to keep it straight in the center of the bait, because if you're off-centered or canted,
It's gonna skew.
it's going to skew. So I usually just lay the point of the minnow head on the bait, and then I'll just kind of mark it with my thumb or eyeball. This one comes to the second rib, so then I'll just punch it straight down the middle. And that's the punch.
Helps if you make this.
That's the punch sound.
Yeah. Yep.
And then try to poke it out. Let's see if we can do this right on camera.
Oh, it ain't your first rodeo.
But it does make a huge difference.
It makes a huge difference.
The minnows don't swim with kinks in their head.
They
it's
don't.
Some of them
right.
run a fox too.
That's true. Yeah, very true.
Now, would it make a difference if this hook came more out the sides?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
when it starts to skew left
Yeah.
to right.
Okay.
And then you don't get the action on the bait, right? Like we talked about the nice vibration you get from that. The reason you get the vibration is when it's rigged right.
Well, this is why you like the ripple shad, because of the ribs that are in it.
Yep.
And
And
it's the turn, and then it's got the paddle tail.
it's a more aggressive. Like if I lift that hard, I will feel that, and that's another reason why I fish braid. I feel that all the way to my hand.
I'm
If I
impressed,
lift
man. That
this
was a
hard,
really nice job.
if I lift this hard, I
You
will
don't
not feel it.
Yeah, and I've fished these on your suggestion a couple times, and you can jig them, or you can retrieve them slowly as well, and you
Yep,
can feel that
absolutely.
rod tip just going. Drrrr.
Yeah.
Now, from a weedless standpoint, when he said to hide the hook,
Yep.
it's really tough on a straight shank hook to Texas rig it, basically, right?
It is.
You could do it on that stand-up head.
You could. It's just that a lot of the walleye jigs, the gaps aren't very big,
Right.
and a lot of the walleye baits, the profiles are a little wide. So to get, I don't have a lot of application for a weedless hook in the spring anyway.
Right.
I mean,
They do make weedless jigs.
Absolutely.
You can go with a weedless jig. We have a whole bunch of
Like
options for those.
What is it? The thumper jigs from Northland. That's another one, and
we have
plus
some
in the bass world.
I was going to say, you're looking at some of the
bass.
bass jigs to get the
Yeah.
weedless
weed
stuff.
weasels, Hayabusa. We
Yeah,
have
weed
a whole
weasels are
assortment of-
key. Yeah.
Yep. So-
And there are, times in the summer, obviously, we've gotten on a few good weed bites, especially on a Poigan too, when they're up in the reeds and stuff like that post spawn. I mean, those can be beneficial to you, but I would almost recommend not covering your hook. Usually, just use the your.
Especially this time of year, they're such
Exactly.
light biters.
Yeah,
So,
well-
depending where you're fishing. Now, that's one thing I like.
Oh yeah, I'll rig one up.
Yeah.
That's why I like these two. I mean, when you slide that plastic underneath this cutout here, that's a good bait keeper as well.
Oh, that's again, it's the reason why it's.
That's got to be our number one selling river jig for sure.
Yeah.
We get people calling from all over the
Well, I
United
think we're one of the
States,
only
really.
places that sell them in bulk.
Yes, and
Oh.
we have, and obviously the most popular two colors are anything with sharp green, sharp orange. We have more than we need, so come on in and grab them. I mean, you can rig these
Until
Texas style. I should probably let the bass guy do this.
I want to see you do it.
I
I didn't know if the hook gap was enough to get it on there, to be honest with you.
don't know if it's gonna be or not. It would be.
You can roll with it.
It's just this is, and maybe we just created something cool. Because
that
of the fins.
totally works.
This is about as weedless as you're gonna get, and I guess there's applications where you're dragging, and if the river is not, I guess, blown out and there's still a lot of leaves and debris,
Yep.
or in the stagnant pools, weedless would probably be advantage. Or probably you come back with less crap on your gear. I don't know if it's a huge advantage on the numbers you'll catch because of the way you rig it, but I don't know. There's ways to do it. for
now,
sure.
with your live bait minnows, though, you guys rig them this virtually the same way as this, right? Is that a secret I just gave away? I mean, you don't
No,
just
there
go
isn't.
through.
I mean, there certainly is a way to rig them. I mean,
you don't just go through the head or through the lips like you would like if you're crappie fishing, because you'll lose a lot of bait, right?
Yeah, so I mean, all the jigs I brought to the table today are more plastics type jigs. Your live bait jig will be a shorter shank typically,
Yep.
like the Northland Fireball jigs.
Honestly, I mean, I for you talking about your Wolf River guys though, I still love this jig more than anything else. There's stand-up jigs. It's still sitting. You think about how quick that current's going. That one time it's sitting, the bait's sitting up, that fish can quickly grab it.
Yep.
So I certainly would use this. I actually just basically that is our go-to bait is your knucklehead jigs. I would say 99% of the time,
Yep.
and you can use them on the river. I mean, just like you said, you can feed that minnow up on as far as you can back, so you're not,
So you could almost fish it like this way, or do you go like just out the gill on the other side so that bait it doesn't kill that bait right away if you're fishing live bait?
And I don't really think it matters if it's dead.
I'm with Jess. I don't think you're not fishing a minnow in a river situation to have an actual live active.
But if on a stand-up jig, if this thing's sitting under and that jig and that minnow swimming a little bit, that you don't think that?
I'm gonna be honest. I mean, you figure the amount of current that's blowing through.
You're
Those
fishing,
fish are doing.
You're fishing a minnow for the smell of the
Correct.
meat.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why you're fishing a minnow in the river that time of year. It's got nothing. It's like ice fishing. You use a minnow head, right? You're not. It's all about the scent of it at that point. It's not about the actual using a minnow being lively like you would under a slip bobber, like you said for crappie or something like that.
Yep.
Well, I mean, you're jabbing. It's like jabbing a spud bar through your body. How long are you going to stay alive?
I understand that. Yeah.
One thing I have been messing with a little bit. We don't fish a ton of live bait. See, I rigged it like crap. But like if you try to take a jig and push it through a minnow's head, and then you try to weave that through the spine area to come out the top, it's hard because it balls up.
Yep.
So if you don't want to use a stinger and you have short biting walleyes, you can turn that minnow sideways, and then when you push it through his mouth, you can get that hook a lot deeper into that minnow.
Yep.
So it helps sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't make a difference, but.
But nowadays, with how good plastics have gotten, it's very hard pressed to find a day that you can't catch as many fish on plastics as you can on live bait.
Yep.
And that's one thing too. I would probably emphasize anybody starting out new. Yeah, start with minnows, but truthfully, I don't even think we barely ever. Maybe if we're going to the wolf, but post spawn for sure, we don't even bring minnows in the boat. Like it's just not happening. It's complete plastic.
I mean, about keeping them alive.
Yep, exactly. My hands aren't getting extra wet trying to dig around a minnow bucket,
or cold.
Just force yourself to use them. I mean, they do
It's definitely
work.
a confidence thing.
It is, 100%.
You got to just get kind of used to it, and once you get used to it, you'll never go back to live bait.
100%.
Ever.
Nope.
You just won't do it.
Oh.
You just won't do it. Awesome.
Next technique. Any fun questions, or we got?
Nope. We got quite a few people that have joined though, so we appreciate everybody that's joined. And remember that this is the new time and the new day, so Tuesday, Thursdays at noon.
Yeah.
So from here on out, this is where they're going to find us on TRSOutdoors.com. And you guys are continuing to talk about spring walleye tactics.
Yep. So we've covered the variety of jigs, hutches, beef fishing. We did touch on the TRS blades. We also carry the.
Nathan Hahn, who works here, said, "What about the 2.4 dark sleeper for walleye?"
Oh God.
Yeah.
It would work. It would 100% work if you're a mega bass junkie like Nate is.
He is a mega bass.
And you want to throw like $4 baits each, go nuts. Yeah, it would work.
Yeah.
You said you
if
used
Nathan
it.
wanted to get a mega bass tattoo, would you pay for it?
Only if you let Zach film it. No, anyway, so
You should
it
not
would
have
work.
it.
I mean, if they're in there feeding on gobies,
It'll
nothing
do it.
looks more like a real goby than a mega bass dark sleeper. It would totally work.
What was that company we looked at the Classic? Was that Live Target? They had a really good.
Yep, and that's a lot like the mega bass one as well.
It's a pre-rig. It's a pre-rig. It's a pre-rig
It's a very
swim bait.
cold-
Jason wants to know if you guys are willing to watch his kids so he can go fishing.
Yeah.
No.
I was gonna guess that's a strong no.
That's a good comment, though. I love it.
Maybe we could work something out.
All right, so we covered the plastics. We covered rigging plastics. You know, I think the big thing is really there's no wrong way to rig the plastics. You can kind of have some fun with it and figure out what's working. I mean, you could rig that ripple tail sideways like that. Maybe it's just something
For
different
sure.
that it works that day.
Are you trying to wacky rig a ripple shad, Brian?
Hey, maybe
Cool.
that works.
You could
Haven't
drop
tried
shot.
it yet.
No, but you could drop. I mean, there's all
Yeah,
sorts
you
of
can
things you
certainly.
can do with it, right? I'm just saying there's not really a right or wrong. It's just making sure that it's got the vibration in the water. That's
Correct.
the real key. Making sure that no matter how you do it, keep the plastic as straight as possible and try to create as much vibration in the water as possible. Those fish, I mean, a 30-inch walleye, you got real long lateral lines. They're not sight feeding in these rivers, right? This isn't these fish are not sight feeding. These fish are feeding off of vibration is how they're feeding. Scent and vibration.
Yep, 100%. So
all right, so we talked about the baits, we talked about that. Is there anything else? I mean,
You can go into location and stuff as far
there you
as
go.
somebody who's kind of just starting out. I mean, there's obviously key locations at any river system that you go to, and I think the biggest thing is you need to learn it. I mean, that's pretty much, I know that's pretty obvious, but get out
Well,
there
and
and
it
fish.
changes as the season
100%. Yeah, and even during the day, I mean, we just talked about as far as going, as far as fishing deeper water. I mean, De Pere is, you got your 20-foot holes. You got even 30 feet up by the dam that they can catch fish in. But every day is different. I mean, there are times that you can only catch them in that river channel, but sometimes they just scoot up on that edge, and you put the feed bags on, and so.
How important are electronics for you guys this time
Extremely.
of year?
Very, very
That is
important.
one game-changing thing I think that is probably, for us anyway, at finding fish, side imaging, stuff like that, it's crazy.
We fished that, like I said, we fished that river system for 10, 12 years now religiously every spring. Early ice is fast. And we have our spots, right? You go check this spot. You go check this spot. You kind of go through your top. It's no different than tournament guys on tournament day.
Absolutely.
Top spot, next spot, next spot, next spot. Boom, strike. Here we go.
Don't be afraid to move. Is
You
basically
got
what
to
100%.
move. Because they're, like Brian said, if you have a bad day, somebody's coming in with fish. So
Right.
those fish are feeding somewhere on that river.
Yep.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day, all the time.
Yep, just got to find them. So electronics are huge.
There's no such thing as a day they don't bite.
No, there's
No,
some
it
place
doesn't
on that river.
exist.
Yep.
The
And-
fish you might be fishing aren't biting.
Yep.
But there is fish somewhere within a 3-mile area that they are biting.
Yes, and we, like everybody else, have those days, right? And
Yeah,
and
100%.
I always say it's volume, right? You go out 10 times, you're not gonna hit a home run every time. But if you hit 7 home runs out of those 10 times,
Right.
that's pretty damn good.
I think
So-
the biggest key for me in a river system is finding slack water current
Seems.
breaks.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
100%. If the fish are on the move, they're in the current.
Yep.
If they're trying to get somewhere, they're in the current. Well, that means they're not thinking about feeding.
Correct.
If they are feeding or they're thinking about feeding, they are in some sort of slack water or current seam. 100%.
Yep.
Yep.
It's just the way it works.
And that's why you see the guys stack up. I mean, your 13-foot break, 13 to probably 8-foot break up and down that whole entire river is usually a good bet. And that's usually where we first go in, like Justin said, or, something that I would just say that we do every single time. We hit our key spots. Boom, boom, boom. We usually fish it 10, 15 minutes. Do we pop a fish? Great. Give it a little bit, spot lock it. Spot lock's key, honestly, too.
I was watching Justin there. He's like, you better not give any spots away.
I ain't giving no spots away.
The
They're all
fox,
just go by the boats in the river. They'll tell you.
fox, yeah, there's whatever. I'll give them all away.
And that's really it, though, too. I mean, but again, spot lock is probably key for us. That's been a game changer in any river
Oh.
system. It's money, and I used to be that person again fishing the Wolf River that I would get pissed because I'd be on a kick-ass drift, and all of a sudden, boop, here comes an anchor, and I get it. You get your pumpers that are very effective this time of year, but spot lock for us is key. So if you do pop a fish, boom, spot lock it usually, and just hammer on them for a while.
Yep.
Usually there's a pot of fish there.
Well, you get to figure out if there was a fluke or if there's
Correct.
exactly a pot of fish they're feeding, and if it's the latter, you're glad you stopped.
Yep, and really, truthfully, I mean, and that's just it. I mean, we'll pop 7, 8, 9, 10 fish, and then once things settle down and we don't catch a fish, we're out of there. I mean, we're moving to the next spot, and again, pulling up on the spot too. Side imaging is key. I mean, we literally every single time, throttle down and we'll work around a spot. You can clearly see on the side imaging, yep, there's fish there to be caught, and we fish 15 minutes. Are they active? Nope. Boom. So just move, move, move. And the key thing too, on the pier. I mean, just because one person catches one fish does not mean you need to.
Right. Just don't,
Are we going into
Yeah, we should
etiquette
go to
right
that.
now?
don't huddle that person.
No.
Right? It's not like ice fishing on big or poison.
This is correct. And Justin and I had that conversation too about that
There's
last
fish all
night.
over the place.
And that's bottom line is what it is, And like Justin even said, where do you draw that line? Because you go playing, you got a hot bite. I mean, you're literally opening your door and hitting somebody else's. But that's kind of how it is. If you're not literally on that spot, I get it. But I think, yes, boater etiquette that. You
Right.
keep your distance.
It gets tough on the Fox. Obviously hundreds of people fish that every year. Hundreds of people catch fish in similar spots. Those same 100 people have the same waypoint on the same
Oh,
spot.
absolutely.
They drive by, they're looking at their graph, like, oh, they're in my spot.
Yeah.
No, we were just here first.
Correct.
There's the difference,
So-
and that's the courtesy.
And that's the respect that I think everybody needs to learn. And you do get your weekend warriors that maybe necessarily aren't as educated and think that's okay. And, I can't even tell you how many times I've cursed several times that Justin's had to call me. Yeah, I know, right?
It happens.
It's just keeping your distance. And, yeah, if you want to move in, just don't be, if I can cast into your boat, you're probably too close.
Yeah.
Well, it comes down to the whole thing, like doing to others, right?
Yep.
Exactly.
That is.
But if you wouldn't like it if somebody did it to you,
Correct.
don't do it to somebody else. It's
Right.
pretty simple.
Yep.
Right? I mean, that's pretty simple. So, awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's great. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in today.
Yep.
That was a pretty good show.
Yeah. So again, this is our new show schedule, Tuesdays, Thursdays at noon. We got the chat going on. We're going to be on TRS Outdoors, so you just got to click on over there, and you'll be able to watch all the latest episodes and listen to the podcast versions and everything over there. We got the Omega tackle still going on there, Zach? But you can't talk, can you?
Mic'd out.
Yep, but that's also on the same page. So if you click on the giveaways tab, there's the Omega Tackle giveaway. That one's pretty cool. So I can click on over that one. But other than that, I think this was a really good show. I mean, appreciate you guys making the time to come on for the new show schedule. And, you know, don't look for you guys on the water, right? You're not going to be out there.
Well, we're not hard to find, but if you are looking for, you know, these specific baits and techniques, we have obviously 100% of this stuff in stock. We have Nick and Tony up front.
I mean,
they're out doing it every day.
Stopping for these customs too. I mean, these are
JT Customs are hitting us.
And
awesome.
they do make a difference.
They do.
It's
They
not
do.
just us selling stuff. They do make a difference.
Do they always? No. Do they? Yeah, it's worth having in your
Absolutely.
box.
Well, the simple response would be that just buy one, try it, see if it
Yep.
works. If it doesn't, I mean, it may be an off day, it may be whatever else, but it also may just pound a pile of fish, and then it was worth its money. So
You become a believer in custom colors very quickly. You
do.
You just do. It happens.
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Well-
Sounds good. Well, make sure you subscribe.
Yep.
Right? Subscribe on YouTube. All these. If you don't get to watch this live, these are all uploaded on YouTube, on the podcast here on TRSOutdoors.com. You
Yep.
can watch them all there. I think there's also links on here, I'm sure, for all the giveaways and all that stuff. Actually, I'm looking at it. There's a giveaways tab.
yeah, there's a giveaway
So-
tab, and there's
Nice.
there's 14 days left on the Omega Tackle giveaway. So if you're on TRS Outdoors, it's got headers across the top. You can do all kinds of cool stuff, but watch for a lot of cool content coming on there as well. As the weather's getting nicer, we're going to be able to get out a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Do we have what's on tap for Thursday?
I think we're just going to be talking on Thursday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
catching up a little
Yeah,
bit. huh?
we don't really have anything per se as of right now. We're just trying to figure out, get some people lined up on a new show schedule.
Yep.
But it might be a good one to rip on YouTube videos like we wanted to talk about.
There you go.
For
I
a
like
while.
that. I want to do that one.
Some
I want
opinion
to rip on
videos.
YouTube videos. That would be awesome.
Dr. Squish, I was talking
Yep.
about her.
Can I join? That would be a good one.
That
So-
would be awesome.
Well, cool. Thanks for
and
everybody.
we got fishing report videos coming out
Oh,
on
yeah, the
Friday.
fishing
That'll be
reports.
this week as well. So we got some live fishing report videos coming out on Friday. Some new updates.
Cool.
So awesome. Well, thanks everybody.
Yep. Thanks. Have a great day.